So the way I'm gonna do this. Real quick. That scared the shit out of me. The Stick King, thank you so much for the follow, man. I appreciate it. Also, chat, I'm gonna turn alerts off during this so that they don't so that I don't have troubles later when I'm editing. All right, so over here on the YouTube, I am on a journey to get to know as many Dead by Daylight creators as I possibly can, and today I'm being joined by BRAN, aka the Mr. Headache. BRAN, you want to let everybody know who you are?
Hi, I'm Brian. You probably know me for Xenomorph stuff, probably the clips on Twitter. I am currently the number 6 Xenomorph in the world in terms of total tail attacks on PC. I am making the Xeno guide, which will be out the middle of this month, if not earlier this month. But yeah, that's probably what you know me for, is for the Xenomorph stuff. But I also like to play a bit of Survivor, do flashbangs, flashlight saves, that sort of thing.
All right. So today we're just for people who haven't seen this series in a while, because it has been a long time since I've done it. I have gathered 10 questions of my own, and then I gathered questions from the community. We normally try to do 10, but we only got 6 submissions, so that's the ones we got. And then at the end of it, we'll do a few additional words. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, so we'll start off with the first. And I think this is a question that I kind of ask everybody: is how you got your username, and were there any other names you considered before you settled on this one?
Well, this is going to be a very short part of the video. I just get headaches a lot. That's it. I just usually have a headache. I think I got kind of used to being called Mister because I was a teacher for 5 years, so Mister something. So I was just like, I have a lot of headaches, and this Mister thing is already a thing. So
Would you teach?
There you go. Social studies, high school level.
I wanted to be a history teacher because of my history teacher when I was in high school. He was the funniest motherfucker on the planet. During Christmas, he put up a bunch of signs that said Santa isn't real, and he actually had to go to court with the school because they tried to fire him for putting up the signs. It was the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
That seems like such a non-issue.
It was. But I grew up in South Louisiana. Bible Belt go crazy.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Wait, Santa's not even. Never mind.
Okay, so those of you who don't know, Bran is also known for doing match reviews, kind of coaching type content, so I have a couple of questions in here related to that. The next one is, what are the 3 most common mistakes you notice in match reviews, and how can people fix them?
That's funny because we just got done recording some of those. First one is if you have a survivor that is death hook and you are at 2 gens, get them out of the game. And if you don't have somebody death hook, make somebody death hook as soon as possible. That includes like camping, tunneling. Essentially, you should have somebody dead by 2 gens no matter what. I see so many people like get down to 2 gens and just have no sense of urgency. Essentially, at 2 generators, the match is essentially over. So if you don't have somebody gone by that point, you're behind. And there's just no sense of urgency to get somebody dead by that point by most players. So that's one. The second one is extremely long chases. Like people, I'm not saying like sit and chase and like count your seconds, but kind of have like an internal timer of like, wow, I've been here a while. Chases in Dead by Daylight need to be like 30 to 40 seconds on average. And if it gets to like 50 plus, you got to start thinking like, okay, this isn't working. So I need to go find somebody who's an easier target. So kick a pallet, take an injury, and call it a day and just leave. We had so many match reviews today where like there was a 1.5-minute chase, 2-minute chase, like full minute chase, and that match time is gen time. Match time is gen time. So that stuff adds up in the background. The third one is perk value. Definitely perk value. People will throw for perk value. We had a match review today where they had multiple people on death hook, but they wanted more pain rest stacks. And they were at that 1 or 2 gen mark where they need somebody dead, but they started trying to go for their pain rest stacks when they needed people dead, and then they ended up losing. Like No Way Out is not worth it. Pain res is not worth it. The best pressure you can have in the game is not from a perk; it's from having somebody sacrificed. And people just go chasing down perk value a lot over actually winning. And those would be the big 3, I think, that I get the most often.
Do you think that like almost every mistake you see is like the more easily fixable, or is it just like a result of people's just lacking a massive amount of game sense?
Everything is easily fixable. It's just stuff you probably don't think about or realize in the moment. You're just not. A lot of people aren't very conscious when they play, especially in a game like DBD that is like very easy to autopilot on. So a lot of people don't realize that they're chasing people for like a full minute or more. They're just kind of like going through the motions. A lot of people don't realize that like they even had somebody dead hook to begin with, or that like 2 gens, I should probably be feeling a little bit more urgent right now. Just like not a lot of consciousness, like not a lot of like presence in the match besides just going through the motions.
Yeah, and like and sometimes I watch and I notice that a lot of people, they like to like panic, like they'll get down to that 1 gen, nobody's dead. They have one person on death hook and they just don't know what to do with themselves. They keep looking around and they can't commit to a target, and it's insane to watch sometimes. I sometimes forget that's how I used to play.
Which is why you do it at 2, because you still like it's still an urgent spot because you can't. You're not clairvoyant. You don't know what the total gen progress across the entire map is. Right. So you could be about to be over, but a lot of the time it's not. So it gives you that little bit of buffer.
Okay. The other thing that BRAN does on their channel often is React Andy, which is how I actually met BRAN. So the third question I have for you is: do you regularly consume DBD content, or do you just wait to see if it ends up in your React requests?
The React took it over. There's Troy just released a video recommending like a COD like system for DBD matchmaking or something, and it looks really interesting, but it's in my React suggestions, so I'm not going to watch it. So that's mostly what it boils down to in terms of like watching DBD content regularly, is that I would go to watch it, but then I'd be spoiling it for Reacts. Right. so I end up not.
Yeah, so it's got to be difficult then. Like if you're just scrolling YouTube, you see a video like, oh, that looks interesting, and then you got to wait. I got to check the Discord and see if that like this. Do you ever feel like maybe that's just kind of hindering your consumption and your relaxation time, or?
I just kind of shift to like different kinds. Like Asimov's usually does like, how close is this entity to the killer, or the killer to the entity, or like, stuff like that, where it's a little bit more fun and it's not really like a take or a discussion. Those kind of videos I still watch. But if it's any sort of take discussion, like I don't go for it because odds are it's up in the reacts. So
okay. Fourth one's kind of a fun one. I'm sure you've thought about it before. What's a killer or survivor concept you'd like to see come to the game? Not a license, just like an overall concept.
That's the original answer for this was the Xenomorph in the Alien chapter, but we already got that, so I'm already very, very happy and satisfied with that. In terms of like a killer concept, yeah, it's hard to think of one that I haven't already gotten, because I got my dream chapter, so I'm very happy and thankful that is a thing. Not even necessarily, and you said not necessarily IP, but I really would like. I really do think Predator and Predator done well would be really, really fun, because like I feel like, and this is gonna be something that like a lot of people talked about, bringing up old wounds here, but like I feel like Skull Merchant was kind of their attempt at kind of like a very like a la Billy to Bubba, kind of like, they're like, okay, well, this is the hunter killer, quote unquote, but instead it's an opulent manga writer instead of like a jungle alien. So to see that done justice would be really, really cool. Because the idea of like hunting and tracking them down would be super sick, and not 3-genning.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if they release Predator and it's not a stealth killer, it's almost a wasted potential, in my opinion. I think that's maybe I'm just like a stealth killer fanatic. Everybody knows how much I love stealth killers and how disappointed I was in Chucky not being a true to form stealth killer. He's a dude who dashes forward with stealth elements. It kind of irritated me a little bit.
He'd have to be like a jack of all trades kind of character, because the Predator does do that. They have a tool in their arsenal for everything.
Yeah, it's just so hard to implement like a lot of different stuff, because like when you get killers that have like a shitload of powers to their kit, they get so complicated for survivors. Like Freddy's kind of an example of that, where he's just got like a whole, like I when I did my Freddy video a while back, trying to screenshot the text describing his power, I had to like maneuver the game to fit it, because it was just this massive wall of text, and it was like, it's just so hard to implement that kind of stuff.
I feel like they'd have to like a little bit of tracking, a little bit of anti-chase, like they got to do a little bit of stealth. and have none of those aspects overpower the others. Have it him be kind of like bad at everything, but be able to do everything. So he always has the answer to a situation. And it's just not going to be as good as someone else who can do it better.
Right. I feel like this is why we're not game devs. um,
Yeah, coming up with solutions to problems is always harder than just IDing a problem, but it doesn't
mhm.
invalidate a problem, being able to ID a problem,
Yeah.
period.
Oh yeah, I mean, it really is. Like I was talking about. I don't know. I think it's one of my upcoming videos. I can't remember. I make so many of the damn things, but I was talking about this before, where like you listen to people like try to come up with perk solutions, like a perk isn't good or something like that. They try to rebalance it, and then like instantly it gets picked apart by like a bunch of different people because it's just so hard to actively think about everything that can happen, which is why I'm not that hard on behavior in terms of balancing. I just rather them fix bugs and collision and shit like that.
We also don't know what the numbers are behind a
Yeah.
lot of these things. Like we didn't know the most killing killers until they released that. That we didn't know most played killers, so they released that. Like there's a lot of data and stuff they have access to that we don't. So
Yeah.
that obviously influences how we would make and design certain killers, perks, etc.
Exactly. So number 5, this is a question I get a lot. I'm sure you get it a lot as well. But what kind of advice would you give to budding DBD content creators, people just starting out in the space?
DBD for the most part is tremendously solved as not only a game but like a content creation space. I feel like a lot of people bend their minds over backwards trying to find something that's like new and unique and dynamic, because that is kind of the name of content creation in general, is like
Mm-hmm.
doing something new and awesome. Um, do what you're comfortable with and do what makes you happy. To some people, that's emulating their favorite content creator. Obviously, I watched a lot of like commentary channels, not only for Dead by Daylight, but just in general. And it still is one of my favorite YouTube spaces, is like commentary
Mm-hmm.
videos. So I kind of just like do that over the game I play. Um, so guess the best advice would be take something like content that you already enjoy, or something, some sort of a hobby or mentality that you have that you already enjoy, apply that to Dead by Daylight, and try not to reinvent the wheel, because the
Yeah.
game's years and years and years and years old at this point. So it's not like you're going to be like the next Starva or the next True Talent, because like they're already there. They are already like the pillars of the
Yeah.
community, so they will continue to be. You're not going to knock them down or anything, but you can find a niche that's nice and wonderful, that's you, that makes you comfortable, and it makes the people around you comfortable, because for the most part Dead by Daylight is a comfort community, is what I've noticed. Either they're really like jaded, angry people who need comfort because their games suck, or they're chill people just trying to play a fun horror game who also like to just relax and vibe. But either way, these
Yeah.
people are trying to like get away from something just to cool and chill, like chill and cool off, right?
Yeah.
So do what makes you comfy, and that'll make spread comfort to other people.
I literally couldn't have said it better myself. I think when I first really got started with the commentary, my commentary shit taking off, I think a lot of people like they were like trying to compare. They were like, "Oh, you're not Otts, you're not Scott, you're not, I was like, I'm not trying to be. I have my own opinions. And you and I both know how making a video about that turned out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to dig that. That video's been deleted since then. But uh,
Sad.
yeah. Number 6, if you were offered a spot on the dev team, would you take it?
Yeah.
What position would you want? Balancing, writing?
Writing would be fun. Creative writing has been a hobby of mine my entire life. Honestly, I would want to some sort of public relations, or like the people that answer that Reddit Ask Me Anythings
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, because I do play the game almost every day, so I get a lot of what the people are talking about. Like if they have a concern about a perk or a map or a killer, like I have intimate knowledge of the killer, the map, the perk, whatever they happen to be interacting with. So I can be
Yeah.
like, oh, is that really an issue, or is that like skill issue, or is it like you haven't learned yet? Like
Yeah.
I can sort through it better, essentially, because I do play
Right.
the game so much.
All right. I feel that. I would definitely take a story writer position in terms of helping create characters, but that's my strong suit. I love that kind of stuff. What's your hair care routine? I'm kidding. The real question is, as streamers, we always have to have our best self forward. What do you do before streams to make sure you're at your best for your audience for the time you're going to be streaming?
I turn the stream on. I essentially throw myself to the wolves, and if I like, it's almost like, putting myself in that, like, not fight or flight, because that makes it sound like I don't enjoy it, but like not preparing myself and forcing myself to just do it, because I used to be one of those people that like would panic and not want to hit the start button because I'm like, what if it's bad? What if it's not as good as I want it to be?
Yeah. I
But
did I can't count the number of days I just sat there and stared at the OBS screen for like fucking like 3 hours, just like, oh.
But if it sucks, it sucks. Like, who cares? Like that's the beauty of streaming a lot, is like there's always tomorrow.
Right.
It's the beauty of uploading so much. There's always tomorrow. If that video is now algorithm didn't take it, or like bad DBD community opinions went wild, like there's always tomorrow's video.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like, I don't know, exposure therapy to myself of just hit live, don't prepare yourself, and just be you.
Right. Yeah, no. I think that's like something I was telling a friend of mine who's like, he struggles with like uploading YouTube videos because he's like, he wants every fucking video to be perfect. I'm like, dude, just do it. Like, just commit to your idea, just do your idea. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out. You try again with the next one, and it just works better that way. Like, trying to perfect every little thing about yourself is just so hard. And
if you upload like once a month, yeah, I get it. But like once a week or daily, like, screw it. There's always next week. There's always tomorrow.
Another coaching question. Have you ever considered charging for private coaching? Like, I don't know how many match requests you normally get. Like, I don't know if you pick and choose, but if someone wanted you to like watch them live and give commentary to them as they're playing it, would you do it or charge for it if you did do it?
I'm not in a position in my life currently where I can do anything. Like, essentially, like, I am, as much of my life as I can donate to this content creation thing, I already am. So I can't do anything extra. So it's more of a time value thing and not like a money value thing.
Right.
Like, if I had time to do it, I would, but I don't, regardless of if I charge for it or not. Basically, the match reviews are all I can give right now, which, to answer your question, it's like anywhere between like 3 to like, I think 8 was the highest we've ever had in 1 week. So it's usually somewhere in there. But I have that, and until that becomes too unwieldy, where I start getting like 10 or 12 or something like that, then I will always do that. But in terms of like actively coaching somebody, like sitting over their shoulder and being like, don't do this, don't do that, I just don't have the time to do it. So it's just not even in my radar.
Fair enough. Do you buy into the idea that behavior is running out of ideas, or do you think people are just looking too hard to find similarities between killers? Because it feels to me like every single killer released, there's always like a voice drifting through the community that it's like, oh, this killer is obviously a combination of blah blah and blah blah, and they do this worse than blah blah, and I don't know, it gets exhausting to me. But what do you think?
I think every game is like that, and I don't understand why DBD players act like it's special. Like, there's, in terms of any sort of versus game, like, it's always like that. Like, if Dota 2 releases another jungler, I'm like, oh my god, they're running out of ideas, more junglers. Gosh, like, it's just a category of character, right? Like, it exists. Smash Brothers, if there's another zoning character, I'm like, gosh, Nintendo's running out of ideas with another zoning killer. It's like, no, or zoning character. It's like, well, no, it's just a type of character that exists in the game.
Yeah,
like, this is normal. Like, a
lot
lot of DBD issues can like be boiled down to like DBD. This sounds mean, but DBD players don't touch grass. Like, they don't play a lot of other games where a lot of this stuff is extremely normal. So because they live in this negativity terrarium with just behavior, each other, and the game, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And it's like, hey, we've been doing this over here for years.
Yeah, no, like I definitely feel that, bro. Like, cause like, especially like your favorite character, the Xenomorph, when the Xenomorph dropped, all I heard was how it was Nemesis and Demogorgon combined. And I was like, what the fuck are we talking about? What? Okay. Sure. Why not? I'll let you guys have this, I guess.
The only map traversal, strafe shot. That's it.
Yeah.
Other characters in map traversal, it's just like Freddy. It actually has more in common to do with Freddy than Demo, because Freddy's teleports are static.
Yeah.
They're static spawn points, just like the control stations are. But you could also say the control stations are also like Sadako because they behave just like the TV spawns do. So it's just another Sadako.
Yeah.
But it's also projectile attack, so it's just like Deathslinger. You know, like we can go down the whole line here.
My final question from me for tonight, and then we'll get into the community questions, is if you were to start a second channel, what would the content be, and would you ever think of doing it?
The lazy answer is a VOD channel because there's a lot of stuff that like I do in terms of just DBD matches, let's plays of other games that people request that just you have to dig through my highlights to get to, which Twitch doesn't really have a good infrastructure for the highlight library. So I would do that first in terms of like a more beefy answer of like, what would you do otherwise? I've thought about this a lot. I think there's a lot of like really, really cool channels out there that do a lot of like real life scary things that happen, or like even like fake scary things that happen, like, you know, those no sleep r/no sleep where it's clearly somebody's like, oh my gosh, this guy was outside my door and he was stalking me for years. It's clearly fake, but like the story's good,
right? Yeah, no.
But like taking that and kind of like making something out of that would be really fun. Could even go as far as to like doing like coverage of like ARGs and stuff like that, because I've always been into those, but that kind of runs line in line. Usually those content creators that cover ARGs also cover like the scary story stuff, that whether it's true or not.
Nightmind was one of my personal favorites for a long time. I still watch his stuff from time to time, and every so often when I get like an influx of viewers and we're talking about horror, I'll bring up unedited footage of a bear. And every single time my chat's like, what the fuck did you just show us? I'm like, one of the greatest horror pieces ever written is what I just showed you. That's what happened, bro. I love it. So it's time for our community questions. Like I said, we had 6 of them today. First comes from some dude in a box asking, what inspired you to make DBD content?
This is kind of like, there's the short answer is I've always been a horror fan, and I've always been somebody who loves learning. I'm a lifelong learner, which is probably what turned me into a teacher. So the fact that there was a lot to learn in DBD, and I also like horror movies and have since I was like 10 or 12, like it matched me really well. But in terms of like making content, it kind of happened by accident and by necessity. I was in a situation, 2020 pandemic hit. Right. A lot of people got laid off, me included, and my then partner included. Partner was not able to work for reasons. So we were kind of in a bad situation. So I needed something that I could put together really quickly that I could work from home with. And that happened to be streaming. So I started streaming this game I was already playing that I already loved a lot, which was Dead by Daylight, in hopes that I could, like, you know, since we both got laid off, to bring something extra in to help pay for some of that stuff. And I just never stopped from there.
That is honestly a really, really in-depth answer I didn't expect. I started playing because Ghostface was in the game and he's my favorite slasher. And that was the entire... I bought the game on like a $5 sale like a year prior. And then in my Dungeons and Dragons group that I was a part of, one of the players, she played Dead by Daylight, and she talked about it all the time. And then one day I was talking to her about it, and I was like, I don't know, I might, you know, I have it, I own it, I might give it a try. And she was like, well, Ghostface is in it, and I was like, fucking sold. And for my first like 30 hours, I only played Ghostface.
That was me with Myers. My friend got DBD for me as a gift so we could play Survivor together. We never ended up playing together. Like, they fell off the face of the earth. But I still had the gift of Dead by Daylight. And I'm like, oh, Myers is in this game. So I kind of started playing it casually. And then, you know, pandemic and everything happened.
Yeah, no, I started with Ghostface. I only played him. And then now that I'm like 1,300 hours into this game, I'm like, man, fuck, Ghostface sucks. Slava Jury, I probably mispronounced the fuck out of that, asks, what drew you to Xenomorph specifically?
This is going to be a long answer. If you don't like a long answer, here comes more. So the first horror movie I was ever allowed to watch was Aliens vs. Predator. I had seen bits of horror movies by accident, like either on like online or like passing by the TV when I was a kid. Things I shouldn't have been seeing.
Yeah.
But the first formal time that I was allowed to watch a horror movie, it was my dad brought out Aliens vs. Predator. He was like, I was like 11 or 12, maybe 13. He was like, I think it's finally time that you were able to see something like this. And it was horrified. Like the whole chestburster thing. Like I felt like that, when you watch surgery shows and it makes you feel weird.
Yeah.
Felt that with my chest for a while. But I was like, these things are cool. Like Grid, which is the skin that I use, is from that movie. Which is why I use that skin like religiously. It's like, okay, well, this big acid spitting lizard thing is fighting this like Turok looking alien monster hunter, and the humans are just stuck in the middle. This is the coolest thing ever. Like I'm like 12, 13, right? Like I'm prime like edgy breeding, like breeding for edginess.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so I see giant lizard alien with acid blood fighting a giant other alien, but this one uses like swords and blaster cannons. Like blew my mind. So that's why Alien was always my dream chapter, because after that point, I just been watched both of the series, like Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and I kept up with it like all the way through like Prometheus, Covenant. Watched the Predator movies, didn't like them as much, but still appreciated them. Besides that one really bad one about the kid with autism superpowers, and no, that's not an exaggeration. They thought that was a good idea for some reason.
The joys of being a horror fan. We have like 3 good movies in the entire genre, and the rest are just like batshit fucking crazy.
Yep. So despite the fact that like when I first saw Halloween formally for the first time, that's my favorite horror movie. My favorite franchise has always been Alien. Always. So that's kind of like when the character could have been like the F tier, and I would have played them because like if not for Alien, I wouldn't be into horror, period.
We have similar. So it was both of us had it was our dad's wit that we got into horror. So my horror story, I've told this on the channel before. I had walked in on my dad watching Freddy versus Jason, and there's a scene in that movie where Jason comes out of the bathtub covered in blood, and he goes, "That hockey punk, he won't stop!" And he kills the guy. And so for like a fucking week afterward, I would not take a fucking shower or a bath or anything. And it was pissing my mother off. And so finally my dad said, I'm going to nip this shit in the butt. I'm going to force this kid to watch horror. So he sat me down, and the first movie he ever showed me was Jeepers Creepers 2. And we watched like 12 horror movies in a day until I got desensitized to the shit. And so that's how. So both of us owe our love of horror to our dads. Just mine forced me into it.
Do you remember that the scene with like they're partying in the corn?
Yeah.
Do you know the guy in the blue jersey, the bully? He passed away the other day. That actor.
Oh, really?
Very sad. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. He actually did a really good job in that movie. I really like that movie, despite the controversies surrounding the director.
Yeah. He also played Toyman in Smallville. That's what I knew him from.
I don't think I've seen Smallville.
It's all right.
Our next question comes from the fake Bennett.
Hey.
I love Bennett, bro. He's a G. Bennett says, any videos you regret making?
Essentially every single one of my aggressively killer biased videos. I was essentially not on purpose, because I didn't even watch like angry killer bias streamers at the time. It was just kind of like I was just new to the game and frustrated and didn't know how to improve or do better. Yeah. But kind of just like only painting one side of the story, always being angry at survivors. And I guess in fairness, like that was in the era of like old Dead Hard, old DS Unbreakable. Like there was a lot to be mad about, but like it was like survivors could do no right and killers could do no wrong. And I like I said, there's a lot of truth to it, because like the meta used to be so aggressively survivor side back then. But still, I definitely went too hard on the killer end of things. And now I can see like, wow, my chases were way too like the things that I do with the match review now is what I like had to like, own up to myself and be like, your chases could be shorter. Your macro sense is garbage. Like stuff like that. And now I see that like a lot of those feelings I had, while there's truth in a lot of them, like there's a lot of exaggeration there. And I wish there wasn't as much exaggeration because I try to paint as much of a truthful and down the center portrayal of the game as possible, like how it actually is. And that's definitely not how it actually was. And now that I see that the community in general has a very, very nasty problem with bias and sidedness in the game, that's not something I could have because there's just too much of that in the community already, which
Yeah.
I was not aware of at the time.
Yeah, and like I relate to you so hard because that's what I was for a very long time, was like stupid. Like if you go back and you watch my how to fix Trapper video, it is the most overcomplicated, overpowered fucking mess of a rework I think I've ever invented on the channel, and I hate it. So I go back and rewatch it occasionally to see how far I've come as a creator, and I hate it every time. It's my first video that ever got me 1,000 views, but I fucking can't stand that video. I hate it from the bottom of my heart. It's so bad. And I think that's what a lot of people, that's like my biggest problem with the community in general, is that you're at what, 5.7 thousand hours or something like that?
5.9, yeah.
5.8. I'm at 1,300, and there are people with you and I's hours combined who still act like that, who still take their own skill issues toward the game and are so ungodly biased and angry that their role isn't winning every single game, and it's so embarrassing. And it's like, and when I talk to people, I always try to tell people, I'm not coming at you from like a moral superiority or anything. I used to be you. I used to be like, killer sucks, killer only sucks, killer is at a disadvantage all the time because all I played was killer. And then I started playing Survivor more, and I started understanding a lot more of what survivors have to go through. And it's like, I feel like if you don't play a near equal amount of the sides, you kind of just have to, and not shut up. That's not fair, but you get what I mean. Like you have to understand your opinion.
Understand that you're biased.
Yeah, your opinion is not going to be as strong as somebody who understands both sides, and I think that's fair. Regretting that biased content is pretty big.
Even if you only played killer up until this point, like after 6.1, like you kick pallets faster, like most of the super nasty turbo meta perks like old DS, old dead hard, the DS unbreakable combo, like some of the worst things that Major Life Hell maps, besides like almost every map in the game used to be like Garden of Joy-esque. Like, and I don't think people remember that. Like there used to be imagine. Like 4 pallets tied into shack window going into another pallet loop. Like map design in this game used to be absolutely abysmal. And I feel like people just like take that for granted or didn't live through it.
Mm-hmm. And see, I started around the night PTB October of 2022, so I didn't play through all that. I could not. I already get.
That's why I'm so chill on killer now, because I'm like, yeah, well, this map Garden of Joy does suck, but it's not 4 pallets into shack window into another pallet loop. Like that was old Blood Lodge. I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that, bro. I get frustrated whenever I fucking find more than 2 pallets right next to each other as it is. I could not imagine the boiling rage I would feel at fucking like 4 or 5 pallets in the same square inch with each other. I would get so fucking pissed.
I don't understand how like you said, there are people that hold that lifelong bias that like killer is still super oppressed and it's the worst it's ever been. And I'm like, dude, did you play Old Ormond? Old Ormond on its own. Ormond's still bad. Old Ormond by itself. The end. Imagine Ormond, Ormond main building, which was better then. In addition, the Rotten Fields problem where the entire outside of the Ormond main building in a loop is one full connected loop, tiles all the way down around Ormond, including Shack. Like, how do you think Killer is worse now? Or still even remotely in that ballpark when maps like that used to exist? Like, I just don't get it.
Right. How about maybe, Axe, do you think Meet Your Maker is a good game? They put the acronym, I had to think for a second. Meet Your Maker is a good game.
Meet your who?
It's another behavior. From what I gathered, it was like a tower defense looking thing. Otz played it. I watched like 2 seconds of it before turning the stream off and moving on with my life.
That's about my experience with it. That I feel behavior captured lightning in the bottle with Dead by Daylight and with all their other ventures. It is gone very disastrously so, and so I just kind of expected the same to happen with Meet Your Maker, and it did. So I'm glad I didn't invest any time into that because I kind of saw it coming.
Majestic King asks, what is your unpopular opinion on Dead by Daylight?
I have a lot of those.
Yeah, spin the wheel, motherfucker.
Obviously, the one we kind of touched on earlier is like a lot of the things that you feel like you hate about Dead by Daylight really does boil down to like a lack of awareness and presence in the game. And there's a lot more you can do than you think to mitigate the issues you have in the game than you're aware of. It may be stuff that you're not willing to do.
Right.
Like I want to be able to win consistently. I want to be able to consistently 4K and Dead by Daylight without ever tunneling. It's not realistic.
Yeah.
Some teams you will have to.
Mm-hmm. And it's
like that's not realistic.
And I think that's just something that a lot of people just don't recognize. Like, you want to be the nice guy, you want to be the chummy little, but like you don't. Sometimes you just don't really have a fucking choice. Like, you're actively throwing the game if you don't tunnel or slug for a little bit or camp a hook. Like, you either be the nice guy or you win the game. That's your choices.
Yeah, like, which is fine. You could, like, there was a match today. It was 4-man Ormond. Clearly they were Swift. They brought all the same items, and I knew a couple of them, so I knew that they knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
I just threw the game. I just said, I'm just going to chase one person, get my daily, because I did get demo shreds, and I'm not even going to defend a gen. I'm not going to try. Because I'm like, my goal is not to 4K every game. My goal is to have a good game. And I was like, I saw all those overwhelming advantages, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to farm my daily.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stressed.
Right.
That's fine for me. But like, if I wanted to win and winning mattered to me, getting a 4K every time, that would be a miserable experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I adjusted my feelings on the match because I'm just like, no, I don't feel like being stressed.
Yeah. And there's some things that's like, you have to understand what you're in control of, because like people ask my advice on how to be good at the game, which I don't really fucking know why are you guys asking me? I'm fucking dog shit. But like, my advice, like one of my more common advice to people is the game starts in that lobby. You need to look at what items they are holding, and you need to be prepared for that. If I see 4 fucking med kits, I'm bringing sloppy Franklins. Like, if I want to win that match, I got to bring sloppy Franklins. If I see fucking 2 flashlights, I got to bring either Franklins or Lightborn, because I just got to be prepared for that. If I don't want to win the match, I don't care. But if you're not paying attention from the moment you hit that lobby, that's on you, bud. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a clear lack of expectation when it comes to goal setting versus the experience and what you need to do to obtain your goal. And I think there's another unpopular opinion, is that the way people enjoy Dead by Daylight only exists at low MMR, because they roll survivors or survivors roll killers, and they get cozy with that, and then the MMR starts kicking in, and then they can't just 4K every single game with like batteries included, furtive chase or whatever you happen to be running.
Right.
And survivors can't just run lightweight self-care and just roll killers.
Yeah, like you get the stereotypical fucking Fung TTV with a flashlight who gets a beamer save at every pickup, and the killer rage quits, and then they win a little bit too much, and then they start getting killers who bring Lightborn or know how to face a wall or tunnel them out before they get the chance, and then they're like, oh, the god, the game's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah, the game's bad. Or DBD used to be a certain way. I don't know what happened to DBD. DBD used to be fun. It's like, yeah, DBD was fun because like at lower MMR you can kind of do whatever and win a lot of your games, because largely it's an RNG game. Not the things you were doing to win are not necessarily good plays. It's just that it's a highly RNG game by the nature of the fact that it's an ASIM. But the whole point of Dead by Daylight in most games, not just Dead by Daylight, is like removing the uncertainty out of that situation and minimizing the uncertainty. So when people start doing things like bringing certain builds or learning certain strategies or playstyles to mitigate said RNG, what? I have to also get better at the game? I also have to bring ABC perk if killer is bringing ABC perk? Like, it's like they act so surprised, and like DBD is in such a terrible, awful state. When in reality, performing well in any game and going up the ladder, you're going to meet other opponents that are just as like into the game as you are, who are also doing those things.
Yeah. And
So
like,
you're gonna meet your maker. No
yeah.
pun intended.
And like I owe this like entire outlook to you because like I mean you watched my you fucking reacted to it, my comeback video. You know, right before I left and right up until the point I came back, there was a lot of my frustrations with feeling like I had to always have 2 or 3 slowdowns on hands because gens were just flying faster. And it wasn't until like I listened to you talk about it and I took like some time to think about my own arguments that I understood that what it was like what I used to love when I first started the game was the diverse amount of builds. And I realized you can still have those diverse amount of builds, but you need to have a different expectation of the game. And if you end up in a game like you bring your shitty little backpack meme build and you end up in a game where they're starting to gen rush you, you either have to shift your play style or you have to just accept that you lost that one. And it wasn't until I learned that perspective that I started enjoying the game a lot more. Like, I've been playing Billy only over the past couple days, and I've been having a fucking blast. I don't expect to win every match because I'm not that great at Billy, and I'm not, you know, I don't have, the only slowdown I bring is Grim Embrace because it's just fucking phenomenal. I love that damn perk. And you know, I don't expect to win every match, and I've been having a lot of fun. Even when I'm getting, like, royally fucked, like, I got ass blasted on Toba Landing my first day, I still had fun in the match because it's just a matter of shifting your perspective from knowing that if you can't win, you either have to do what you can to win or you have to just accept you're not going to win that game. And if you just want to win every single game, you either fucking sweat your ass off or you just accept you're not going to win every game. And I think that's what a lot of people's problem is.
I think the funny thing too is it's kind of like if you just stuck with it, it'd be fine, right? Because like if you want to run backpack builds only, like losing your matches is how you get back down to the bracket at which that works. But like you can't swallow your pride while taking all the L's to get back into the bracket where people are not running those things.
Yeah.
That you just get mad and you want to quit and you want to blame behavior, you want to blame the game, and it's like, I don't know.
I still think gens are boring as fuck though.
Yeah, I like DBD at like the mid to high MMR, but like the highest MMR, no. Because just the highest MMR is just like I brought gen perks, or I brought brand new part, or I brought quad slowdown.
It's so fucking stressful up there, bro. I was at the soft cap before I quit, and that's where a lot of my frustrations came from. Because every single fucking match was BNPs and gen rushing and fucking. And if I wanted to play Freddy for whatever reason, it was just like, oh, GG's every match. That's why I was so pissed off back then. Because it's so bad, dude. I hated being at the soft cap. I never want to be up there again.
You know what's funny too is like I had a day like that today. We played for like 4-ish hours, and most of my games were like that. Just like there's like proofs, syringes, BMPs, like almost every game. But like tomorrow, my matches aren't going to be like that. Yeah. Tomorrow, I'm going to log in and I'm going to get probably like half and half.
Yeah,
because like I didn't win 95% of my matches. You know, so MMR is going to probably put me somewhere that, you know, makes more sense for the kind of perks I'm running. And honestly, I don't have to take that. I could run triple quad slowdown and continue to go up the MMR if I want, but I just don't want to because, like I said, I don't find that bracket of the MMR very, very fun. So I'm just going to play the same, be a little annoyed, be like, oh my god, why is everybody so sweaty? And then tomorrow have better matches.
Yeah. Our final question is a meme question. I originally wasn't going to choose it, but I feel like it can be funny, and you know me, I like funny. Al the Mediocre asks, why can you kick Victor but not Chucky?
It's a good question. I actually saw this before you asked this. I was trying to think, like brainstorm ways we can make this work. Like, like maybe it doesn't stop him. Like he scampers, you have a chance to kick him, and then he's doesn't stop in place and die like Victor, but maybe he's like slowed.
Yeah. I thought a lot about that too. Like whenever I first saw it, I was like, it's a meme question, but it's also an interesting question because like, if you did it right, you could provide like decent counterplay to this fucking obnoxious little shit. Because like half the time playing against this fucker is just such a pain in the goddamn ass.
It's like Wraith on steroids,
dude. Oh my god, bro! The only difference between him and Wraith, and the only reason I'd take him over Wraith, is Wraith players have taken to just camping hooks so hard Like, I don't know if the invisibility turns off the anti-face camp mechanic or whatever, but like,
It does not.
dude, well, I feel like every single match against a Wraith is just them hooking someone, turning invisible, and then as soon as you go for the unhook, bong, bong, and they just spawn from your asshole. And it's like, okay, well, that was fun. I'm so happy that we decided to play this way. I'm very excited with this experience.
The reason that is because Wraith has a very firm skill ceiling, like where no matter how good you get at Wraith, he's just not dynamic enough of a character that he can circumvent really good teams.
Yeah.
So though the way you circumvent that is by denying their ability to play, which is proxy camping, tunneling, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right about that. His skill ceiling is stupid low.
Yeah, like the trade-off is that, you know, he's a very easy character that requires almost zero input to play well, because he's fast, he sneaks up on people, he got lunge. Like, he's so simple, and you get so much value despite his simpleness. But the trade-off is like, now I can't handle better teams consistently.
Yeah, like he's to me, he's the inverse of Billy, who's got a high skill floor and a high skill ceiling. Wraith is a low skill floor, low skill ceiling character. He is so easy to learn, and then he is so easy to master. Like, the most complicated tech with Wraith is learning how to body block windows with your invis.
Yeah.
That's congratulations, you passed Wraith 101. But that's all the questions I had today, Bran. Before we get out of here, is there anything you want to, like, any last words you want to tell anybody at that's watching?
Really sucks enough. So make somebody's day better. Be nice, be kind, be empathetic. That's all.
All right. And if you guys want to check out Bran, all of his links will be in the description down below. Before we get out of here, a very quick thank you to our channel members, Tubby Squirrel, Nuclear Bomb, Spirit Upgrades, and Cat Lover for their additional support. You guys know where to click if you want to find out more about that. Thank you again, Bran, and everybody have a fantastic day. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.